Hey all. So I wanted to make a quick video, although I have a few that I'm going to make now, and I'm going to tell you guys about them, and then I'm going to end up putting them up over the next day, probably is how we'll do it. But so I want to do a follow-up to the last video, the one that I did, 2 days ago now, because you guys, a lot of you all were responding. Thank you so much. It's really helped me. First of all, hi. I'm just going right into what I want to talk about and say hello, Circle Healing Network, all that good stuff. Although it's not even about any of that for me. At this point, it's just really, truly about this exchange and us really trying to get to the bottom of figuring it out, at least for our lives. I am not here trying to solve the Mandela effect for the world. I just want to figure it out for my own satisfaction and what I'm experiencing in my life, okay? So another note, cars, because there's a few things I want to talk about. We've talked about cars and what have you being a mode for where we are noticing the shift. So I want to get back to that, but I have all these notes here. So I want to do some follow-up to some of you guys' responses, because it seems like a lot of you are seeing the same thing with the moon. A lot of you are seeing the same sort of body anomalies. You're noticing the change sometimes 2 or 3 times in the same day. Hands up on that one. You're noticing the vibration, these other kind of signals that seem to indicate some kind of a shift of some sort. A number of you have said that looking at the video the other day was kind of a light bulb that went off, like you were having all these things but didn't really know how they were associating. Others have seen it have had these experiences for a few years now, which puts us a little bit in front of the so-called discovery of the Mandela effect on the internet. And I've been saying that I know I can go way, way back and think of a lot of anomalies that we're now saying the Mandela effect. So I think this consciousness shift thing has been around for quite a while now. It's hitting sort of a critical mass, and I believe that's why we're seeing so much of it. But by no means do I believe this just started at all. And I'm thinking from what you guys are saying as well, that that seems to be the same for you. Okay, so I'm going to get into some of these things bit by bit so we can keep this short. First of all, one of the things that I forgot to say in my video the other day that I've also noticed with these shifts is, especially when you have a really big one, it seems like there is, not only do you get that sort of fogginess. Now, I noticed this more when I first wake up from a really intense dream at night. Like I'll wake up and I know that I was everywhere but in my bedroom, like all night long. That's what it feels like. And I noticed that, like, you know what's going on in your life. So it's not like you don't know what's going on and all that. No, I know what's going on. But what I have noticed, and tell me, guys, if this is not something that you are noticing as well. I'm sure you are. Things that you know you're supposed to know, you have a hard time pulling it into your consciousness. Okay? So, for example, my business, what I do to earn a living, which is obviously not these videos, but we've created community here. And so this is helping me also figure this out. Okay, so my business, I have a number of things. Of course, I have my website. I have a list building site. I have, all these different things, not to name them all. Okay, but I know these things. Like I know who hosts my domain, right? I know who hosts my website. I know who hosts my list. I mean, these are things you just know, right? You know them like your phone number or something. So a couple of weeks ago, it was 2 Wednesdays ago. So I'm going to say it was like the 29th of May, because it was 25, 4th, 5th, maybe 26th or 27th of May. It was Wednesday, like 2 Wednesdays ago. I noticed that like things were really weird in the world. And I've talked to a number of people like that in my world, my local geographic area. And I talked to a number of people in my area, and they were saying the same thing. Like, it seems like people were losing their mind. I mean, on my way home, I came across 3 major accidents within a stretch of a few miles on the freeway, to the point that it was so shut down that I said, let me just get off. So when I got off, it seems like the minute I said, okay, let me get, and I know, like, we are not heliocentric. I get that. Like, the world doesn't revolve around me. But doesn't it seem like sometimes it does? Like, doesn't it seem like you make a decision and all of a sudden everything in your little geographic area makes the same damn decision? Like, is it just me? I mean, I know this is crazy, but, or maybe seems crazy. I don't believe that we're crazy at all. I think we're very sane individuals. But the minute I like decided, okay, I'm going to get off this exit after having sat and creeped for like maybe 20 minutes, honest to goodness, tractor trailers popped onto the, what's that? The service lane, you know, the part that you're not supposed to drive on or you get a ticket. And like all these tractor trailers and then all these cars and everything. And I mean, I was literally maybe 300 feet from the exit when I decided I'm gonna get off. So all these tractor trailers, at least 2, 3 service trucks, 4 or 5 cars, all popped off. I'm like, what's the chances of that? Okay, whatever. So, and then they were real spastic about it too. It wasn't like it was a smooth jump off. It was just like this really all of a sudden, bam, jump off. So then we're getting off and I'm waiting to go down to the bottom of the ramp now, the exit ramp. And then there's a light there. Now all these clowns that jumped off in front of me, then it doesn't seem like they could make a decision about how the hell to make a right turn at the light. Like, you had this bright idea to exit. Like, really, you don't know how to get down to the bottom of this light and make a right turn without having to look down the road and wait for everything that wasn't coming to now start coming. I mean, really, you know, so now I'm sort of getting a little irritated. I'm thinking, ugh. So then I finally get to the light to make the right myself. And then all of a sudden there's like this, it's 4 lanes. All of a sudden people are just careening over, like jumping into the lanes. And you thought that you had just entered the planet of the people who, the planet of the spastics. It's like all of a sudden people are just changing lanes, like irrationally, like, you know? So I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I gotta watch out. I feel like they're gonna run into me. No sooner than I said that, I come upon this accident of this really nice blue Mustang, like brand new Mustang, or was it a Camaro? I think it was a Mustang. And the guy, he jumps out the car and he has his hands on his head like this. He's like that. And he's looking at his car. It is crunched up almost to the windshield because he runs into a minivan, into the back of this minivan. Like, and it was like at an intersection and all these cars were careening. So like, how did you get so crunched up? I know I'm really being dramatic right now, guys, but I guess I'm reliving this thing because I'm thinking, how the hell do you get so crunched up when you don't really have, it wasn't like a real huge straightaway like you had, like you could go 50 or 60 miles an hour and then crunch into somebody. You couldn't be going really more than 20, 30 miles an hour anyway. So I'm thinking, whoa, okay, so now that's another accident. Everybody's all backed up behind that. So I go out in the outer lane and go around to go make this left to get on the street that'll take me further down and try to work my way back home. All of a sudden, here's these tractor trailers trying to make the same left. They're all in the way. So I decide I'll go down, make a U-turn, jump over into like the drugstore that's on the corner, you know, like a CVS or something like that, and go around the back of it and pop out. The minute I do that, this other white Mercedes SUV, like out of nowhere, it seems like it's just going so slow. And I don't mean out of nowhere like Mandela effect, but I mean just crazy. You know, people just in the way. Finally, I get out, driving along, come across another accident. Like another accident where the whole side of the car is just smashed in. Like maybe somebody was trying to squeeze in and got squeezed out and the other person wasn't going to relinquish. Well, anyway, To make a long story short, by the time I got home, which couldn't have been more than 10 miles, there were like 6 to 7 accidents. And everybody was clueless as to how they got into this accident. You could tell by on their faces, they're looking like, I mean, like, really? Anyway, so I say all that to say, because on that particular Wednesday, when I went to sleep, the next morning when I wake up, this is where the story really I was coming in on. Okay. Oh, this is going to be, hopefully this is still going to be a short video. Anyway, so I wake up and I clearly had really a lot of those water dreams. I think that was the one that I dove down into the swimming pool. And then when I got to the bottom of it, I started walking into like an area that didn't have any water, that kind of thing. But anyway, so I woke up and I thought, wow, it was a really good sleep time. Like I felt rested, but I definitely felt that it was intense sleep time. So I get up in the morning like I normally do, get my coffee. I get on the computer because I do a lot of my business work right in the morning because it's a lot of SEO stuff and all that kind of stuff I gotta get done. I cannot remember the name of my list builder. Okay, I'm thinking MailChimp, Constant Contact. I'm thinking all of these that I don't even use. HostGator, all these things. I don't even use these. If you ask me on a good day to name you 4, I'd be hard pressed to even come up with the ones I just said. Yet mine is ConvertKit. I could not remember ConvertKit. I sat there for a half an hour with a computer in my hand trying to do other things. Then I started actually Googling. Do you know ConvertKit didn't even come up? And I was saying to my husband, he was sitting across from me having his coffee. And I said, I can't remember the name of my list builder. And he's like, well, you sure, you sure? And I sat there for a half an hour. When I finally remembered, he just looked at me and shook his head. He's like, because he doesn't know the name of it. But what I want to ask you guys is this. Have you experienced when you know that you sort of felt like there's this shift thing that's gone on, that you know that you should be remembering something inside of your being? You know you should remember it. It's right there. It's something that you use all the time, but you're trying to pull it in. Like, it's not even like you don't remember. It's not even like, oh, I don't remember. It's like in your mind the whole time I'm saying, you know this. Why are you having a hard time pulling this in? It was like right there. Now, I've had this happen before with things. And when I went to look at one of my indicators, remember I told you guys on the other end, find your indicator. I don't want to tell you what mine is, not that I don't want to share it, but I find that when you start sharing things, stuff changes. So when you find it, don't share it with anyone because it's got to be your constant. So I went and looked at that massive change. It was a massive change on this particular paradigm. I was looking at the guy that does the channel, that British guy that does the channel, Mandela Affected. He's got some good little indicator stuff he's been doing, like with his dice and with cards, and he'll do things a certain kind of way and then leave them. And when he has this major shift, he'll go back and look at them, and definitely he sees differences. Definitely. So if you look at his latest videos on the dice and the cards and stuff like that, he gives you some good ideas about things to do. But whatever yours is, do it. Because when you have one of these major shifts, you're going to find that that stuff has really changed. And I mean like in a major way, not the little ways that you might think, did I actually leave it like that or something like that? Okay. Anyway, so I noticed I had this major shift. So that's the first thing that I want to throw out there is to look at how you're processing the information that you know that you should know. And it seems like but once you bring it in, you got it. Like once you bring it into that particular, let's say multiverse shift, then it remains there. You don't have a problem with it again. So this doesn't seem to happen very frequently because it normally is a major shift, but when it does, okay. The other thing that I noticed during that time period, like a couple of days after that, was that, so this was on a Wednesday. So then Thursday was when I was having a hard time bringing in this ConvertKit thing. But then I noticed there were some shifts in between there. Then Sunday, I woke up, my normal ritual thing of, you know, having a little coffee, sitting, talking with my spouse. And I said, things are just like a little strange. And he's like, oh, okay. I mean, you know, let's have a good day. Well, let's have a good day. That's his way of normally saying, okay, this is Sunday, damn it. Like, really? Can we not? But anyway, I said, no, it's a good day and all that kind of stuff. I said, but it's just like, I'm feeling like I'm the observer as well as the participant. That's the only way I could say it. Like, I knew I was like in my body, in my physical being. Okay, no problem. Everything was cool, you know, nothing weird like that. But at the same time, I just had this nagging feeling of also observing. It was just, so like, I'm asking you guys, have you experienced that? Now, what's interesting is I went on Sundays, like I'll normally go get my massage or a facial or something like that. That's my sort of like, not every Sunday, but like once a month. That's my little treat time. So I was going to get a facial, and my facialist, you know, I've known her for a couple years now, and she's Russian. She's very enlightened, beautiful spiritual being. And we talk a lot, but she's not like Mandela effect kind of person. I don't think I've even used that word with her. And she's sort of like very pragmatic. She believes in, you know, spiritual stuff. She's like very much into the medical doctor side of her practice. But she's also very much aware of natural medicine, natural healers. She talks about how there's a lot of those in Russia. When she was a little girl, she's experienced some of that. So all that stuff, right? So she's balanced on both sides. So we were talking everything, and I noticed that she was very energetic that day. Like, her energy was just really blasting me. I mean, I was like, she was on a facial, and I felt like I was being almost hypnotized. Not hypnotized, anesthetized. Like, I felt like I was really just super relaxing. So I said, wow, you're really on today, you know, like that. And she said, yeah, she says, I've noticed that myself. She says, and you know, the only thing I can say is I feel like my energy is higher than normal. And it's like I'm observing myself. My eyes popped open. I turned around and looked up at her. I'm like, stop it. No, stop. And I explained to her my thing. And we like both like stared at each other for like a good period of time. Like, yeah, isn't that weird? I'm like, yeah, I've noticed the same thing. So since that time, over the last couple of weeks, a couple of the YouTube channels I look at, I've started hearing this word observer. Like, people started using this word, kind of like feeling like they're observers of what they're doing. Like, they're the person and the observer. So I wanted to ask you guys about that. I wanted to put that piece out there to see whether or not you've noticed any of that. And then remember in my video 2 days ago, I was talking about the idea that this whole consciousness is almost like, I feel like it's sort of like a muscle. Like, we're learning we're like these experiences of jumping and our dream time and everything sort of feels like almost like we're learning, we're practicing. It's almost like it's a muscle. And one of you guys commented, and you said, you kind of reiterated, like, yeah, so you're saying you feel it's sort of like a muscle. And I'm like, and I think I responded, and I said, yeah, it's like, it's the only thing I can sort of describe it. Well, I'm looking this morning at Life Matrix, you know, Mr. Disappearing Hotels or Reappearing Hotels or whatever. He's on YouTube under Life Matrix. A lot of you guys know him, you follow him. And I did a video with my friend Sarah Lise a few times ago where we were saying we felt we couldn't find his videos. And a few of you chimed in and said, yeah, well, he didn't go anywhere, he took them down. Well, I didn't get into it at the time because, like, it's not important, because I know we all have these subtle differences. But yeah, when he took his videos down, a number of us, he said, hey, if you want to follow me, you can follow me over on my YouTube. And once you follow me, I'm even going to take the opportunity to follow me down. Like, because he was trying to close his community down for his own reasons. I don't really remember or got into it. But anyhow, So I know that that had happened as well. Now, whether or not those videos were still around, I don't know. I know I looked for them high and low and couldn't find them. And then for a while, he wasn't even responsive on his YouTube channel. Then on his Facebook, and then he came back, and then he recently put those videos back up, because he even recently said he just put them back up. So I'm saying that to say that he seems like he's doing some traveling as well, and he's in and out. He's trying to figure it out as well. But now he's had these dimensional hotels, not only the old one, the Cape Ray one, but now he has 2 more in La Jolla that has popped up. So it's kind of really interesting. But the one he just put up today, I want you guys to go look at it, because at 8 minutes and 30 seconds, I think it is, I put it down here, 8 minutes and 30 seconds into the video. So if you don't want to look at the whole thing, I mean, I suggest look at the whole thing. It's only 16 minutes long, but to specifically find out what I'm talking about is that when he goes into this dimensional hotel that he knows wasn't there, because he's an Uber driver, he's been an Uber driver in this area, and you know, he pretty much knows it pretty well. So yeah, this is new for him, although the hotel's been there for 25 years. When he walks in, there's a conference going on. And what's the conference on? Consciousness, singularity, all of these things. Like, really? And he's even like, okay, what's the chances? What's the synchronicity in there? Okay. But what I want you guys to see at 8 minutes and 30 seconds, there's a woman he starts interviewing who has a booth at the conference. Her name is Pam Payne. She has a PhD in all this consciousness, mind stuff, and what have you. And she says a couple of things very interesting. She says, first of all, she does believe in the jumping. She had never heard of the Mandela effect. He asked her about it, didn't know about it, all that. But she describes the same thing. She knows she jumps. She's trying to figure out what are the circumstances that are present when she does, so she can recreate them. She says she does notice several things are in existence. And this is to you guys out there, which I've said about you all. I know this to be true, because I don't really get a lot of negative comments on this channel. And I mean, I get a few, but who cares? Those people are just obviously shadow people, which I'm going to talk about that as well. But anyway, intellect, emotional acumen, and high intuitiveness. So intellect, emotional, and intuitive. These things you are definitely in connection with. And she finds, as a PhD and has been studying this, that these things must be present. When those things are in synchronicity and are working well together, it creates hyper awareness and hyper intuitive, whatever. She says she thinks it's like a muscle. This whole thing is like a muscle that we can work and work and work and get better at. I'm like, stop. So go listen to what, it's a really short little interview there. But this is what she's talking about. And she's been studying this stuff. Now, I haven't even heard of the woman. I didn't even know this conscious convention even was a thing. Evidently, it's been at this hotel for a number of years, a few years, goes back anyway. And she talks about this muscle. So I wanted you guys to check that out. Okay, next thing. The other thing I'm finding is that I think also that this is kind of like this reality that we're finding ourselves in a lot. Now, that's what I want to talk about before I talk about the type of reality it is. I was pondering this yesterday. I'm almost feeling like, as opposed to on YouTube and in our personal lives when we tell people about this Mandela effect and whatever, as opposed to helping people become aware, I think we're just simply finding each other. I think it's something about what we're doing, or a part of what this whole mission is, or purpose, or whatever. I don't even know how to frame it. It's a process of us finding each other, not so much helping other people. Because everybody talks about how it seems like it's so hard to wake people up. It seems like it's even people who we're very close to think we're like a little off and all of that. So if we were like really helping to wake people up, it seems like we would have an easier job of it with all of the astounding evidence. But maybe our jobs are more that we're finding each other, and that because what I know on this channel, when I say things, people instantly get it. Like it's like a light bulb like going on, like, damn, that's what's happening to me. And I know when I go to other people's channels and they say something, it's like a light bulb. It's like, that's it. Not like, oh, you gotta court me for 5 or 6 more weeks before I get it. It's like a light bulb. So I wanted to throw that out to you guys too, the idea that maybe we're finding each other. And that's what this whole thing is about. And the acceleration of this whole thing is more about that than it is waking other people up. So to that point, for whatever reason, we're in these particular types of universal multiverse paradigms where everything seems a little more sinister, it seems a little more diabolical, it seems a little more wicked in a way. Like it doesn't feel like we're in a multiverse right now that's like, you know, flowers and, you know, the land of milk and honey, let's put it like that. It seems like we're like in a sort of like in a dark kind of place. Don't you know what I'm saying? I know you guys feel this. So to that point, it seems like we're in a verse that's opposites. Like it's like the opposites. It's like everything is so much is like opposite of what we do remember from where we even came from. It's like the first time, the thing I think about is the first time I went to London from the United States. So I went to university there. And like everything was opposite. Like they drove on the opposite side of the street. You know, it was like a reverse. And it was like weird to me. It's kind of like how the Mandela effect feels to me now. I remember back to then where it was like, gosh, I really learn new things. Like I'm thinking I should know this culture better only because, you know, it's the same language of sorts. But even the way words are pronounced, spelling's different, you know, in various ways. The spelling rules and stuff are different, and the words, like the way words are pronounced, are different than than American English. So British English is definitely different in that regard. But the idea of just having to learn over again that when you step off the curb, you got to look right and then left, not left and then right, that kind of stuff, or you'll lose your life. So it's like that opposite thing isn't existing. So like with rules of spelling, rules of, like for instance, this is what I'm getting at as well. Like my first degree was in graphic design. I went to school, to art school, and I got a degree in graphic design. Now this was a number of years back, and it was sort of like at the inception of the Mac computer, but it really hadn't gotten big time yet. So we still learned graphic design, like having to make your own blue lines and having to make, you know, everything was using a protractor and rapidographs and stuff like that. You had to draw everything. And I remember the first time I experienced the graphic design program with a Mac, and all you had to do was pull this blue line over. Like, I mean, I sat there for hours just pull blue lines over. It's like, I have to draw these damn things. Anyway. So, but even in graphic design, there were codes of ethics. So when I talk about product design and logo changes and all that kind of stuff, which I know we're all beyond that at this point, but the point I want to make is there were rules that you learned. Like you didn't mix more than certain typefaces together. Certain type of typefaces you really put together because they weren't all that legible or readable. Hyphens were done a certain kind of way. The way you connected words. Good logo design had everything to do with melding what the business's purpose was with trying to get that across in a logo. So, for instance, let's just use like the word Febreze. That's one of the popular ones that comes to mind. Well, Febreze. Okay, the word B-R-E-E-Z-E. Well, we know there were 2 E's in the thing from where we come from, not from those of you who are used to these laws that govern this paradigm. was like a breeze. And even the little logo's got a window with a curtain blowing, like breeze, right? So that was good logo design because the logo and the way it was spelled and everything worked with the concept of the product. So with the one E, you would have to spend too much time getting people to understand, well, that word is breeze, first of all, not brez or something. It's breeze. And it's a breeze because we are Febreze. You know, we're creating a product that makes things smell better and feel like your windows are open. That's just too much explaining. And so that would have been a poor logo design. So most of these logos that change would have just been poor logo designs because you'd have to do too much pre-educating to get people to understand what it was before you could even get them enrolled in, okay, I want to buy this product. So when you think about it, when you go to buy a product, you want to spend as minimal amount of time as possible getting a person to understand what your product is, because by that time you've lost their attention. They're off to buying something else. So you don't have time for all these cutesy little logo-y things that we got going on now, because it would just be a total waste of your marketing dollars. You have to spend so much pre-marketing dollars to get people to understand what the hell you're trying to sell them. So I'm speaking to you guys from over 30 years of experience with freaking logo designs. This is why it doesn't make sense to me. Not to mention the rules of language. When I learned how to type in keyboard, it was with the old typewriter. Clink, 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 you know, the electric typewriter. So not only did you not have these sophisticated programs that help you with spell check and all that, because you had to freaking know how to spell. With that being the case, you didn't have time to have all these cute little words. The word was the word, because spelling and good spelling was everything. Remember spelling bees? Remember, people took pride in being able to spell accurately because you didn't have a backup spelling program to help you with any of this. So now, all these changes that are occurring, it's happening because the computer is telling you it changed. Not that you have, you know, I mean, we have a memory of these words changing, but the point is that the computer is saying, oh yeah, a lot, it should not be together or whatever, you know, separated. I mean, these things are just annoying. Okay. The point is that there were rules that govern things. And so product and logo had everything to do with those rules. So now all these rules are different. So once there was this shift that these rules with product designs were different, now nature and everything is different. Like we talked about the moon. The moon doesn't follow the phases any longer. It's doing whatever it wants to do. Except for, I'm also thinking, I think in some dimensions, it just doesn't follow the rules any longer. But I also was thinking that one or two things, you tell me what you think. Either we're dimensional jumping just that quickly, and it does happen quickly. So once there's a recognition that something isn't right, and we go in to try to get our camera, we try to catch it, that pure act of consciousness changes it. So then it's no longer there, or it's somewhere else. So either we've jumped dimensions and we have become consciously aware in that moment, and or the act of consciousness shifts stuff. Now, I want to go on and talk about that a little more down the road, because I'm noticing, even with my channel, that to be true. The act of talking about something or showing a picture of something changes the awareness of it, which also gives people time to then structure a counter to, oh, the Mandela effect. Oh, it's crazy. Oh, it's this. Oh, no, you see, oh, I can't find these. I can't find this residual residue any longer. And even when you first Google something, and tell me if you all haven't noticed this, you can Google something, and at the beginning of the Google search, what you're looking for is there. You'll find a couple of anomalies, but the further you go down, you can go all the way down to it ends. You can't even find it again. You can't even find it. So why was it at the beginning? But then as you start going down, you can't find it. I think the act of us realizing and recognizing, our act of conscious awareness, changes and shifts stuff to what opposite of what it is that we're looking for. Now, I want you all to try this too. Try looking for something as its opposite. Like, not like logo stuff or anything like that, but let's say you're looking something up, you're trying to find something. Go in and put it in as the opposite of what you expect. And then what's interesting is you'll find the other. But if you put the other in, then it's hard to find the first way, if that makes sense. Just try it. I don't want to say too much, because you start saying too much, then that act of conscious, it puts too much out there. But those, you guys are really, really smart. So you know what I'm saying. You'll get it. Okay. So I wanted to talk about that with regards to opposite. This reality has everything to do with the opposite of what we're used to. And then I mentioned a little something about shadow people. So go to Jason333M, his channel. He just put out, I just kind of found him recently, just a couple days ago. But he has like a 4-minute piece on shadow people. He makes a very compelling argument about the shadow people. And he talks about the fact that there's like, what, 7 billion or 9 billion, that changes depending on what multiverse we're in on the planet. He said, do we really need those many people? Like, maybe it's only 1 billion of us, and the rest of those people are shadow people. And he makes a compelling argument about it. He thinks that people, that when you talk to somebody about the Mandela effect and they go like this, and then they don't have a reaction, or or they react like, oh, why would they do that? Or like, you see, those are shadow people, because they are lined up with the program. And so their response is always going to be program oriented, you know, that kind of thing. So go look at it, because I thought it was pretty interesting, and it kind of plays into what I think we're all trying to figure out. How long has this video been? Anyway, I'm gonna get ready to end it. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was, so I wanted you to go there. I told you to check out Life Matrix at 8.30. Anyway, the other thing that was on my mind as a follow-up to this last video is that, okay, so moving forward, I have a couple of other videos in the can, like they say. And what I'd like for you guys to do, and I'll remind you at the beginning of those videos as well, but as I begin to release the information, I want you to get on Google and start finding it before the video ends. That's what I've started doing. When I'm listening to other people's work, I jump on and I start searching for what they're saying, because you have a better success of finding it and seeing what's happening right then than you do than afterwards, because that active consciousness, I'm telling you, has something to do with the realities and what we're experiencing. And I'm a positive. I look at it from the positive side, not like I'm a positive person. Like, I don't think there's negative stuff out there. Hell yeah, there's negative stuff out there. So it's not that at all. But I do believe that we are conscious creators, and that some kind of way we are definitely in control of what's going on, and some kind of way we're ahead of it. And we've got to stay ahead of it to figure it out, versus letting the AI or whatever you want to say, because I'm not into that conspiracy part of it, but I do believe that stuff is out there. So I don't want to say, oh, I don't believe it's not, because it is out there. We're staying ahead of it some kind of way. So when I release 2 things to you, now these 2 things I've held on to. One of them I've held on for almost a year, and I've just been watching. Now I've got all the data and all the evidence on my computer, on my computer. That's what I'm gonna say. But I have seen 0 on it, and none of it's changed either. It's still hanging there. So I'm gonna put that one up, and when I put it up, I want you guys to start doing the back work so you can see what I mean. The other thing I'm gonna put up, I've been holding on since the beginning of the year, and I still have it. There has been no one talking about it, and there's been no changes to this thing. Now, people have been talking all around the thing, but they haven't talked to the specific thing that I want to share with you guys, and there is residual out there on it. Okay, so I'm gonna put those up. And then the last thing I want to say was, I was just thinking about it with regards to, oh, like I've been noticing about, I want to talk about our pets. For those of you who are pet owners, I've been noticing my pets have been really spooked recently. Like my oldest dog, he's about 8 years old now. So I totally know his personality. He's a really totally little calm, loyal little guy, you know, what have you. Pretty chill type of dog. He's not like, they don't bark just to bark, and he doesn't do crazy things just to do them, you know. And he has been like super spooked, like weird. Like he'll sometimes just come and look at me, and he's just like all under me. He's a very independent dog. So I don't know what to make of it. I don't have a whole lot to say about that, except for tell me if your animals are seeming to respond differently. I notice these, even sometimes when I think I've had a big jump, I check in with him, because I've noticed that his reaction to me will be a little different. Like he's trying to like check me out, and I'm trying to check him out. Now, my larger dog, who's my younger dog, she's a pit, and she is very calm. Same thing, really calm. Like she's over there like right now sleeping. She's just laying there sleeping. She's like, whatever. Life is a dream for sure for her. She gets food. She happy. She don't have no major issues with life. Well, me and my spouse, we were out a couple of weeks back hiking. We go up into the mountains, and we'll take the dogs. And so she's just chill. She likes to run along, trot along. And so he normally controls her because she's pretty strong. And he's a big guy, so he kind of can, like with me, I'm kind of like a holder with two hands sometimes if she gets like, decides she's gonna like want to start running or something. Anyway, so we're walking along, and we come up onto this major clearing, and we were returning from our walk. So my youngest dog, he's just like, the hell with all of this. He's tired. His little legs, they're tired of doing this, you know. So he had slowed down a bit. And so I was like a few paces behind, and all of a sudden she just started barking. And she's not a barker. Like, you know, she'll bark if she feels like she needs to. Other than that, she's really chill. She started barking like the deepest guttural kind of bark you ever want to hear. And her tail stuck straight out, and her ears were like, bam. And I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong? What did you all come across? You know? And he's like, nothing. I'm like, nothing. And he's just like, there's nothing here. And he's like trying to calm her down. And she's like looking straight ahead, like she's looking at something. And she is going off. And finally, you know, we kind of got her, and she still was like looking like, this ain't right. And all I had a picture of like some big, you know, reptilian something crossed her path. I don't know. It was like that movie Alien or something. So have you been noticing that with your pets though? That's what I wanted to ask you guys. So share with me if you've noticed any strange things that's been going on with them, because they're so aware and so in tune, and we know that. So I think that's it for right now. I just want you guys to be sort of aware of consciousness. And the only other thing is, no, I'm not going to talk about that because it's not even important. On my channel, everything's normally pretty good with that. So, you know, you get a normal, every video you're going to get some kind of little crazy something. And normally I just think those, like my man over there at Jason 333M, I just started saying those are shadow people. Because anytime that there's some of the hate stuff that people say now, or like the racial kind of slurs and stuff people make, are you kidding me? Like, we are so far beyond that these days that is like not even a comment. Plus, I want to ask you, this is what I also want to ask you, then I'm ending this video. Okay, I'm a person of color. Now, inside of myself, this person who's talking out to you right now, do I feel like a person of color? No. I want to ask you guys, do you feel like an Italian, or do you feel like an Asian, or do you feel like an Indian? I mean, do you feel that? I mean, consciousness doesn't feel those things. Like when you look in the mirror, you see it, but do you feel it? Who feels that? I mean, so since you mostly are a being of consciousness, you're not walking around identifying yourself like that with every thought that you make. So if I'm sharing thoughts with you those thoughts are African American. Or I go to somebody else's channel and I'm listening to the guy and say he's Australian. That's an Australian thought. I mean, come on. Like some of this stuff, some of these comments are just like beyond, like you definitely know they're shadow people, you know, because it's like no way. And the other thing I wanted to say real quick about my channel, which is why I'm asking you when I put the videos out to just start doing that research thing while I'm doing it, because I've noticed that I can put material like I've been on YouTube for about 1.5 years now. And I started these Mandela videos about a year ago this time, when I realized that maybe in April or so, when I realized that this was something to start talking about and I wanted to share and find out. Since that time, my channel has built very, very slowly. I mean, I haven't put time into it. Like, I'm not trying to build it like that, but I have like over 2,000 subscribers now. But what I've noticed is that, like, I'll put videos out, like like a year ago, I put a video out about They Live. I had some theories about that. And then when I put that video out, there were no videos out there about They Live with regard to the Mandela effect. There was only one other, and the guy was talking about the movie and talking about more like the MK Ultra, but not like Mandela. Then I did one on, what was the other one that was like this? On the Mona Lisa. And I put the Mona Lisa, there were no Mona Lisa videos out there with regard to Mandela. Now, that's okay. So the Mona Lisa's gotten a lot of views, and They Live's okay. But since then, it's like all these Mona Lisa, all these They Live. And then people are like, nobody else has done the videos. Or they're like, when I first came across it, and I'm like, are you kidding me? But it's okay, because I know that YouTube is a very big community, and it's hard to know everybody's stuff. But I do believe, part of this conscious conversation I'm having, that some of this stuff is being pushed to the bottom, pushed to the back. Like some of the channels I've come across that make the most sense, have the least amount of subscribers, but they make so much sense, but they don't come up in your algorithms hardly. And the ones that come up in your algorithms are the real stupid ones, or the ones that pay, like, now I think some of that's YouTube's back feed stuff. But what I have noticed is that it seems like you can produce, and you probably are noticing, think about this in your own lives. Like, for instance, my channel produced another channel, a woman who kind of drives around her car like I was. I mean, like, it was so weird the first time I came across her stuff. And she just started her channel like at the beginning of the year. That I had to flip it off because it was like real weird. In that moment, it was like, this woman is like me. She didn't look at anything like me or anything, but she's like me. It freaked me out. I had to turn it off. When I first looked at it, she might have had like maybe 800 subscribers. Now she has like 40-something thousand subscribers, like in a few months. But most of her stuff is like, she's telling her story, but it's like really from a standpoint of grief and stuff like that. And I get it, you know, and confusion and grief and stuff. And maybe that connects or something. But I don't know. I feel like I think we're spawning stuff, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We're spawning things that are like us, but not like us. And I've had a few other people who have channels say a similar thing, that they've sort of noticed. It's almost like another channel was spawned off of theirs, and it like takes the life from their channel and takes it in a different direction, which is nowhere where they're going with it. And I mean, they're fine with it, but they've noticed it. So I wanted to say that I'm throwing that out there because I want you to start looking at it. Or if you feel like somebody's trying to do you, like at the job or in your social activities or something like that, and you're like, where'd this person come from, or what is this about? I want you to tell me and weigh in on you. Have you noticed that? Like, if you notice somebody like at the job or in one of your social or at the gym, all of a sudden it seems like there's this recognition, almost like they're trying to do you. But when you look at them, you're like, they're almost clueless in a way. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, I'm signing off because this is way longer than what I expected. Hopefully you guys were hanging in here with me. Love and peace. And keep the comments coming because it's helping me. I try to answer all of you guys as much as I can, or as much as I see, because sometimes those get lost as well. But anyhow, have a great day, and I will be back in the next day or so with these other ones I'm talking about. They'll be shorter, but they'll definitely be ones that I want you to look out and about and see if you see them the way I have. Alrighty, take care. Peace out. Love and light, light and love. Take care. Bye-bye.